The year was 2387. Deep in the cold silence of space, the colony ship USS Resolute drifted helplessly through the Kepler 442 system. Emergency lights painted the corridors in dim red, casting long shadows over the faces of terrified colonists. 3,000 souls. Men, women, and children, all of them counting the hours until their oxygen ran out. Commander James Carter floated toward the communications console, his knuckles white, his jaw tight. Behind him, Lieutenant Marcus Webb worked frantically on the failing reactor, sweat beading on his forehead despite the freezing temperature. "How long do we have?" Carter asked quietly. 14 hours of breathable air, Webb replied without looking up. After that. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Carter sat down at the console. He looked at the blinking emergency beacon, the one that would broadcast their distress signal across every known frequency in the galaxy. Every species monitoring deep space would hear it. Allies. Neutrals. And the others. His finger hovered over the button. "Sir," said young Corporal Danny Hayes from the corner, his voice barely a whisper. "If we send that signal, everyone will hear it. Not just the Federation." Carter closed his eyes for one long second. He thought of the 3,000 people breathing their last hours of air. He thought of the children sleeping in the lower decks, unaware that their world was ending. He pressed the button. The signal screamed outward at the speed of light, a desperate, raw human plea crashing through the silence of the universe. 47 light-minutes away, aboard the Galactic Council observation post, Ambassador Vale of the Ithari people received the signal. He processed it calmly, his 4 silver eyes scanning the coordinates. A human vessel, his aide confirmed. Catastrophic systems failure. They are dying. Vale leaned back in his chair. The Ithari had observed humans for 2 centuries. They found them fascinating, emotional, unpredictable, and frankly exhausting. But they were not monsters. "Send a rescue drone," Vale ordered. "Ambassador." His aide hesitated. "The signal has already been received, by others." Vale went very still. "Which others?" The aide pulled up the response signatures on the holographic display. Vale stared at the data for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly and walked to the viewport, staring into the dark. "Prepare my personal ship," he said quietly. "We go ourselves." The Vreth warship dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a predator landing silently in tall grass. It was 3 times the size of the USS Resolute, black, angular, built for one purpose only. Inside the human ship, every sensor screamed. "Contact!" Hayes shouted. "Unknown vessel, massive, it's powering weapons." Carter spun around. On the view screen, the Vreth ship loomed like a dark moon. The Vreth were known throughout the galaxy as harvesters. They did not rescue. They did not negotiate. They took what they wanted, technology, resources, and sometimes the crew itself, and they left nothing behind. "All hands, battle stations," Carter ordered, his voice perfectly calm even as his heart hammered. "Webb, I need anything from that reactor. Thrusters. Weapons. A strong light. Anything." "I've got maybe 15% thrust, Commander," Webb called back. "Weapons are completely offline." "Then give me 15% thrust." The Vreth ship fired a warning shot. The explosion rocked the Resolute violently, throwing crew members off their feet. In the lower decks, children screamed. Carter gripped his armrest and did not flinch. "They want us scared," he said to his crew. "They want us to beg." He looked around at the bruised, exhausted, terrified faces of his people. "We don't beg." What happened next confused the Vreth commander deeply. The crippled human vessel, damaged, powerless, outnumbered, turned toward them. With 15% thrust and no weapons, Commander James Carter flew his broken ship directly at the Vreth warship. "Target their docking clamps," Carter ordered. "Sir, we have no weapons. We have a ship." "Target their docking clamps." The Vreth had harvested hundreds of species. They had never once seen a dying vessel charge at them. Their commander paused, just for a moment, confused by behavior that did not compute. That moment was all Ambassador Vale needed. The Ithari ship arrived like a thunderbolt, dropping out of FTL directly between the two vessels. Diplomatic energy shields flared brilliant white. A council emergency injunction broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously. The Vreth hesitated. They recalculated. They left. Later, as the colonists breathed recycled Ithari air and medics treated the wounded, Ambassador Vale stood across from Commander Carter in the docking corridor. "You charged them," Vale said. It wasn't a question. His silver eyes studied Carter with open curiosity. "With 15% thrust and no weapons, you charged a Vreth warship." Carter shrugged. "I had 3,000 people behind me." Vale was quiet for a long moment. "Every species in this galaxy," he said slowly, "received your distress signal. Most calculated the odds and stayed away. The Vreth came to take. But do you know why I came personally, Commander?" Carter waited. "Because in 200 years of observing your species," Vale said, "we have learned one thing above all else." He glanced back at the colonists, families reunited, children crying in relief, soldiers holding each other up. Humans are at their most dangerous when they have something worth protecting. He extended his hand, a gesture he had learned from humans long ago. Carter shook it. Somewhere across the galaxy, the Vreth commander filed his report. He used only 4 words to describe the engagement. "Do not provoke humans.